and we'll get to traffic in a moment, I did want to point out that we're having a very heated discussion over the filmography of Kevin Costner. And I contend Waterworld and The Postman are far, far underrated. We then were talking about two other movies that he made, one of which I do not like, Robin Hood, and I do not like it because of his accent in it. He did the worst British accent I've ever seen in a major motion picture. And then 13 Days, about the Cuban Missile Crisis, where he put on an almost as bad Boston accent. And so I love that movie despite that accent. So, I'm a man of many contradictions, but that's what makes me interesting. So welcome back to the show. We're talking traffic, and there's an article on Blog TO and the title is "Driving in This One Part of Toronto is a Nightmare and the Locals Are Fed Up." So if you just read the headline, you would say, well, they are clearly talking about my neighborhood. If I read just a headline, I would say, oh, that's got to be Yonge Street, above Bloor, with all the bike lanes and the single line of traffic that goes slower than somebody with a limp walking up the street. But in this case, it's Liberty Village. It's been hit especially hard with a lot of factors. There's obviously the constant construction. There are congested events, the Gardner rehab. There are transit issues. And they're putting up condo after condo after condo, but the number of streets and the width of the streets isn't improving. Like, they just put on a 39-story rental tower at 45 Strawn. That's currently under construction. So imagine you've got the scaffolding. And I have no doubt they're taking over a lane of traffic, because that's what you do in Toronto. They don't mandate setbacks so that the scaffolding starts at the edge of the street as opposed to on the street. And then when that's done, you're going to have 39 stories, of which I'm sure a number of cars are going to be parked underneath it. And so someone writes that they had to drive out somewhere last night at 9:30. It took them 45 minutes to get to Lakeshore. So let's invite into the conversation someone who knows about the value of good transit and good streets and good neighborhoods. Devel Morrison with Bosley Real Estate Limited. Devel, what do you think about this story and this neighborhood? And we've talked before about the condo market being hit particularly hard with the current state of affairs. Does this make it harder to sell in that neighborhood?
Absolutely. But before I get to that, I'm just going to say The Bodyguard.
Yes.
That would be my favorite Kevin Costner movie.
It's a great one. It's a great one.
It is. But yeah, so on the traffic front, so I used to work for Chorus Entertainment when it was located actually in Liberty Village.
Okay.
And this was many, many years ago.
Many moons ago. So yes, back when you were a child.
Exactly. And so I loved driving through that neighborhood, and it's great. It was great. But now, because there's basically only one street in and out of there, it's become a nightmare.
Yeah.
And it's not a recent thing. It's been like that for years, quite frankly. And hopefully the knives don't come out for me with your listeners. But I've been recommending for people not to buy in Liberty Village for years.
Really?
And this is actually one of the reasons.
So someone comes to you and says, it's always been my dream to live in and around that place. And you would say, don't do it.
I would say don't do it. Not only is the street, the road, the traffic situation horrible, but let's talk about the transit situation in that neighborhood. And this is one of the reasons why I don't recommend it to people. So if you're trying to get a streetcar from the financial district to take you out to Liberty Village, the lineup is usually so long to get on the streetcar that most people end up walking most of the way.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the flip side to that, Devel, would be if somebody came, if you recommended a neighborhood and they said, oh, no, I've never really thought of it, you would say, well, the city is currently building transit in that area. And so in a couple of years, it's going to be a far better experience for you. Like that, it cuts both ways. If they're building the transit, you might recommend it. But if the transit's crap, then you're going to say stay away.
Right. But Ben, yeah. I live at Yonge and Eglinton. And so if you want to talk to me about transit that's coming and it's coming and it's coming, and it's coming,
correct.
I can tell you it's not coming. Now, that being said, I have noticed recently driving on Eglinton, they are testing the trains on the LRT.
Oh, it's
So
good. It's going to be magical when all of a sudden a lot of the people who have been going east-west in their car, some of them are going to give up their car to take that 100%. There's no way they're not. And when it's ready, it's going to be a dream driving across Eglinton. But hey,
You're giving them too much credit, Ben.
Oh, no, because I know I'm going to use it. Like if I'm in that area, I will use it, and I will not use my car. So and I can't be if I'm the only one, if I'm the only one and I have VIP service on the crosstown, I'll be very happy too. Hey, we only have a few minutes left. We got sidetracked. I want to talk about the rate cut that has had almost no effect on the Toronto housing market. What needs to happen to move the needle, Devel?
Well, to move the needle, we got to get rid of the stress test.
Yeah.
I mean, rates are still high, and dropping it by 0.25% isn't enough.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully on July the 24th, when there's another rate cut, that will get some buyers out there. But that stress test where buyers are being tested at 2% higher than the current rate is stressful.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of buyers jumping into the market. And as we spoke about in weeks, and it's all over the headlines right now, is all the condo listings that we're seeing.
Yeah.
So we've got lots of condo listings, not as many buyers. And we also have a lot of investors, landlords, rental providers selling the condos that they own. So it's going to make it harder for people to rent in the years to come.
So now the stress test was put in for very specific reasons. Do you have any idea whether it was successful in achieving its goals? And are we in a different place now where we say, okay, we didn't have it back in the day. They implemented it for certain reasons, but now circumstances have changed and we really should reevaluate whether we need it or not.
Exactly. So they implemented the stress test 4 times like right now to make sure that people could still pay their mortgages when the interest rates rose. And so interest rates have risen. We know that they've gone to the highest that they're going to at this point, because now they're coming down. And so, yeah, the need for the stress test, in my opinion, my humble opinion, has gone. And I'm sure most mortgage brokers out there would agree with me. It's time to do away with it. Let people actually be able to buy a place, especially first-time buyers who would be buying a lot of these condos.
Hey, in our last minute, Devel, we talked about you not recommending a particular neighborhood for people to buy in. Are there any other neighborhoods that are just not looking as good today as they used to?
There's certain buildings.
Okay.
So when I sit down and meet with a client, it's, okay, yes, no Liberty Village. Most other neighborhoods are fine.
Yeah.
But it's certain buildings that I would say to you, don't buy in, because, you know, what I hear about the things that go on in those particular buildings, that I would say, yeah, you know what, it's going to be difficult for you to get a mortgage in this particular condo building. In this particular condo building, you know, there's always problems. Maintenance fees are going to be going up. So
if you found out that a building was built by, say, the same people who built the Ontario Science Centre, you might tell them, avoid that building. Right.
Yeah. Or Urban Corp, for example.
We're naming names.
Yeah.
Devel, I'm going to leave it there. Have a great Saturday. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks. Bye.
So earlier this week, I attended the Monk debate on whether or not anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I want to take you through a recap of what happened, share some of my thoughts on the points made by either side. That and more of this week's news next here on Toronto This Weekend.